The bald man's birthday did not lead to the collapse of the Crimean illegal construction, but the oil depot in Feodosia, which had been burning all week, went up in flames and continues to delight with new explosions. In Feodosia, because of this fire, they even decided to limit the water supply to the population. Tuesday's meeting of the heads of the post-Soviet fragments of the CIS was mainly about help in bypassing Western sanctions, which are becoming increasingly noticeable for the cave. Even Lavrov stamped his hooves that talk about ending the war can only be started after they are lifted. Putin's wishes are unrealistic in reality. Donbass has not been completely captured yet, and the Kursk region has not been liberated by October 1. Only by transferring about 50,000 organisms to the region, the Russians managed to drive a wedge 7 km long in the last 24 hours, but this could become a big trap for them. In addition, most of the captured territories are still held by the armed forces of Ukraine. Today, the Russians are losing an average of one carcass for every 2.5 square meters of captured territory in the war with Ukraine, and it is becoming increasingly difficult to recruit them as civilians. They have to raise their contract payments. So the swamp strategist is left to hysterically throw a tantrum at the nuclear button and draw red-brown lines. Today, having torn himself away from this occupation, the bald-headed Führer rushed to Ashgabat, where he will be awarded a trinket, and he himself will meet with Iranian President Pezeshkian, who must be persuaded to extend military cooperation. Ukraine is catching up with the cave in the number of ammunition, and if the North Korean Fatso supplies them regularly, then Iran has ceased to be a reliable partner. The threat of a full-scale war with Israel pushes the bald friend into the background. You can smile at Shoigu and hug Mishustin, but a missile attack on Israel is sacred. Now the initiative is in the hands of the Jewish comrades, and how they will respond no one knows. Hezbollah is already ready for a truce, while the IDF continues to tear the Akbarchiks apart like a dog with a hot water bottle. Iran has warned Saudi Arabia and other Gulf states that any assistance to Israel in an attack on Iran will lead to retaliatory strikes on their oil facilities. On Wednesday, Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman met with Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi, after which Saudi Arabia, Qatar, and the UAE notified the United States that they will not allow Israel to use their airspace and military infrastructure to attack Iran. We will find ourselves in the epicenter of a missile war. There is serious concern, especially if Israel strikes Iranian oil facilities, one of the diplomatic sources said. Zelensky hasn't had a good week either. A Ramstein summit scheduled for October 12 was postponed because Biden and Blinken decided to stay home because Hurricane Milton hit Florida, killing at least 16 people, before weakening. But Zelensky has been rushing around European leaders because he believes the presentation of a victory plan is urgent. The main task is to convince the leaders to give the go-ahead to use long-range missiles deep into the cave, as well as guarantees for Ukraine to join NATO. This will discourage Moscow from attacking again. The US election race is approaching the finish line. Trump's rhetoric is becoming more and more aggressive. He is increasingly caught in outright lies, but as a short-term strategy it may work. The Kremlin is closely monitoring events on this track, as well as the upcoming elections in Moldova, which may become Moscow's next geopolitical victim if it declares its European choice. Here Putin may play the Transnistrian card and involve Romania in the war. His global games blind his eyes, not allowing him to see how a wild field of interspecies hatred is growing inside the cave itself. Kadyrov declares blood feud against Kerimov, and this may become the first spark of a major war in the Caucasus. All the prerequisites for a rupture of the cave's cesspool have been created, the external war is in full swing, Putinomics is collapsing, the degree of hatred is off the charts, the future is unclear. The former head of the Ministry of Agriculture, Putin's mafioso Aleksandr Tkachev, is already predicting the collapse of the agricultural sector, which is already experiencing an acute shortage of workers, and if this issue is not resolved in the near future, a catastrophe could occur in 3 years. And this is not to mention other industries that are also suffering. No one remembers the bi-currency baskets, Cornered businesses are trembling. The central bank is about to raise the rate above 20%. No one understands what will happen tomorrow. The time is coming to declare a new act of anti-evolution, when Her Majesty the Time of Troubles will come to the forefront, striding forward.